Hello, Year 11. In normal times, we'd be tackling your revision throughout form periods, but in the absence of those, we're going to try and do it through part of your Skills for Life lessons. This guide is just going to take you through the initial stage of planning for your revision, leading up to your mocks, and give you a few techniques you can use to maximise the time that you've got available to do that revision. So, before you even pick up a revision guide or textbook, you need to start getting yourself prepared and plan your revision. And to help you with that, we've placed on the school website in the revision advice section here a 2020 mock revision timetable. So clicking that will open up an Excel spreadsheet, and this is an example of that. And I've started to fill this out. So basically, we've got all the days here up until the mock exams. And you have mock exams in December. And we have space for you to write in when your exams are. That obviously won't become relevant until we get into December. And then we have a number of revision sessions across here. And I've started to populate this. So on the first day, let's say it's Monday the 28th, I'll do a session of maths and a session of biology. Session would be 25 minutes. You can do longer or shorter if you want to, but don't do any more than your brain can handle. Otherwise it's pointless. So we say like 25 minutes, 5-minute break, and another 25 minutes there. That would be an hour, and I've suggested an hour per night on a school night, and maybe a bit longer at the weekend. We haven't got school to get in the way. Your subjects are listed down here, and I've just copied them across into the boxes here. You'll notice there's a counter here, and it will count up over time how many sessions you've done. That makes sure that you're not allocating too much time to one subject at the expense of another. You may, in fact, decide to focus a little bit more time on particular subjects. This just gives you an overall tracker of it. In the options, you just type in the option that you're doing, and then the way this works is you just copy into the sections there, and you notice there we now have 2 French sessions on our list. I wouldn't advise you plan more than a couple of weeks at a time, because you may decide that your revision is going particularly well in a subject, and you might need to cut it down and focus on some other subjects. So possibly just update this every couple of weeks. And, you know, let's just say at a special day, maybe your birthday was on the 10th of October, you can just go and blank that out. You wouldn't want to do revision on your birthday, for example. So to fine tune it a bit more, we notice on this first day we've got some maths and biology. There's some pages here that you can go and put in exactly what you're going to revise on those days. So you don't just pick up maths revision guide and start at page 1. You actually know what it is you're going to revise, and that'll be based on your weaker areas perhaps. And final thing about this is it's all sized so that when you print it, it will fit neatly onto a nice piece of paper, just the right size, so you can print it off, put it on your bedroom wall, on your fridge, somewhere where you're going to see it, and you can stick to that, and your revision is then planned. One great way of revising is using flashcards. Flashcards are little cards that contain information on one side and corresponding information on the back. For example, in the screen you see the keyword weight and its definition on the back. You might have a question on one side and the answer on the back. You might even have something like an unlabeled diagram on the front, and on the reverse, the label diagram. But it's not about making the flashcards, it's the important thing. Whilst that's important, it's how you use them that is the most effective way of using this method. So you see a graph on the screen. If I just talk you through this very briefly, this axis here is how much information you remember from the point of learning it. And this light blue line is how quickly you forget information. So if we look at, we know everything once we've been taught it. This blue line shows that after day 1, you've forgotten more than half the information. If we keep going down the green dotted line, hopefully you won't go down this route, but by day 10, you've only retained 10% of the information you knew 10 days ago. However, if you repeat your learning periodically, you can see that that line gets less steep, meaning you retain more information. So look at this, we've repeated it once, twice, and then by day 6, we've retained probably about 80% of that information. Okay, so the more times you repeat it over time, the more information you're going to retain, which is going to be great for your exams. And so one method you could particularly use for the flashcards is a method I'm going to outline to you here. So imagine you've got 20 or 30 cards from a particular topic. What you do is you separate them into sections. So you would take your 20 cards, you would test yourself on them, and the ones that you don't know, they go into your daily envelope, which means you essentially you're going to look at those cards daily because you just don't know them. The ones that you did know, they go into one of the other two envelopes, probably at 30 every 3 days envelope, which means that you will still look at them, but you'll look at them less often. And so what happens then is, as you get to know the cards better, or the information on the cards better, they go into a less frequently looked at envelope. But the important thing is, the second you pull a card out of one of those last two envelopes, every 3 days or the weekly, and if you don't know it, it goes back into your daily envelope, which means you're going to spend most of your time looking at information you don't know, learning it, and less of your important time, looking at stuff that you actually do know. But you don't forget that information, you keep looking at it, and that way you'll learn lots more and, importantly, retain it all. Another popular revision method is mind maps, and mind maps are essentially just a way of putting information down on paper, and importantly getting it organized, and for more advanced mind maps, getting it linked. So there's a history example on the screen here, obviously about the Cold War. What I like about this one is it's very clear, very neat, and the colors are showing the reader which sections relate to each other. So it's very clear that the purple section down in the bottom left is one section totally different to the red section next to it. You can get a mind map that looks like this. At first glance, it looks a bit of a mess, but it's got the same principles. It's got everything down on paper. It's using colours to distinguish different sections. But what I like about this a lot is the fact that it uses diagrams. It uses very simple pictures. And they do say a picture speaks 1,000 words. I think that's very true when it comes to revision. If you can use a picture in place of words, on this one they've used them in addition to words, it is going to be a lot easier for you to remember in that exam when you shut your eyes and you think back to that picture that's on your wall that you've looked at day in and day out. And they're a couple of examples of using mind maps for your revision. The final method I'm going to show you in this video guide is a simple way of note taking. You take an A4 piece of paper, it could be A3, could be any size to be fair, and you make two margins, one down the left and one down the bottom. You put all your notes in this larger section, so you may take a particular topic or particular text that you're studying and put all the notes in that larger section. You then jot the key words or some key phrases down in this left-hand margin, and in the bottom you write a brief 1 or 2 sentence summary of the topic that you've made notes on. Here's an example of one. This is about photosynthesis. You can see here, rather like the mind maps, it's colourful, it's hopefully logically ordered. I've got diagrams in where possible, got the keywords, and I've got my summary. And the way you use this is you take a fresh piece of paper, pop it over the top, and then you try and see if you can redo the notes. You don't have to do them any kind of great neatness because you've already got those underneath, but you've got the keywords on the left to give you some hints at what you might need to be making notes on, and you've of course got the summary at the bottom to give you the overall picture. If you do them well, then they will be able to be used over and over and over again. And finally, there are of course revision guides. These are really good. They've got loads of great information, but they are not the only way of revising. Please don't fall in the trap of thinking buying a revision guide and just aimlessly reading it is going to get you anywhere. Yeah, it's better than nothing, of course, but the methods I've shown you previously in this guide are active ways of revising. If you just sit and read a revision guide on your bed, like I say, you won't get very far at all, but if you use them as a source of notes to make flashcards, mind maps, you will be using that information, and that is good to get it into your long-term memory. Of course, think of your location, think of your environment. It's time to start thinking about space in your house that you can dedicate for the next few months to your studies, to your revision. A space that's just yours, ideally, where you can leave stuff, you can have it set up as you want it. Nice, comfortable chair, not too comfortable because you're working, well lit, neat and organised would be good, with all the resources you need for your revision. If you're struggling with space at home, as some might, do speak to your house teams, because we have solutions. We can find you space at school. And then along the bottom, some things that you must remember in no particular order. Sleep. Sleep is so important. You will perform and function really well if you get lots of sleep. Now, I'm a realist. Teenagers generally like to stay up late and get up late, but if you can make sure you get a decent amount, 8 to 10 hours is recommended, but if you can get somewhere close to that, that's going to be great. Second image there, the Eat Well plate. Good, healthy diet, lots of vitamins, great for learning, and a good mix of foods. Image there of somebody running. Do keep yourself physically fit. It'd be very easy to sit and be sedentary and do lots of hard work, but if you're not physically fit, that's going to affect your mental capacity too. And as important as anything else, in the bottom right hand corner, talk to people. It's a very stressful year for students with exams coming up, especially in the situation we're in at the moment. Talk to people, talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to your teachers, talk to your house teams if there's anything worrying you at all. If you get overly stressed, that's going to do you no good, no matter how much revision you do. A little bit of stress is, of course, good, because it gets your body going and your mind going, but not too much. So please listen to that advice, and please speak to your teachers as well about how to revise, particularly for their different subjects. Thank you.